Hey guys, sorry I could not be with y'all today. I had a sick kid, and for y'all's safety and health, I had to stay home and come to you via YouTube. So you should be looking at your resource guide for economics. I'm going to go through the table of contents. I'm skipping pages that we could get to the introduction. This basic introduction basically talks about economics and how it's a study of how societies deal with their available resource. Basically, economics, it says right here, is how organized societies transform their available resources of goods and services. So basically, it's this whole idea of scarcity. And that's the number one thing that economics is a study of, scarcity, and how we deal with those scarce resources. And so because of those scarce resources, we're required to make choices. And that's what the next thing it says right here. Individuals make choices. Do y'all see that right there? Individuals make choices. So today, because of my limitation of time, I had to make a choice. Am I going to go to school or be at home with my sick daughter? Because of scarcity of time, I had to make the choice that I was going to stay home with my daughter, and my opportunity costs, which eventually some of y'all will see this later in the econ lesson. Some of you have had me know opportunity cost is what we give up. And so a lot of economists study like this whole idea of scarcity. And so Adam Smith is one of these economists that looked at the inquiry of nature and cause of the wealth of nations and how wealthy nations were more prosperous than other nations. Sorry guys, I left my camera stand at school, so you're just dealing with my dysfunctional hands. So what we're going to look at is modern economic approaches of how we deal with the problem of scarcity. There's two different types of approaches to economics. One is micro, where we look at individual decisions. That's what this part says right here. And then the other one is macro. Many of you have taken me for macroeconomics. Look at entire societies. And so, again, this resource guide is going to basically study about how we make decisions with these scarce resources. How do individuals, how do governments look at that? And most of this stuff will have models, which will all be geographically based. And we're just going to go through this guide and talk about the fundamental concepts of economics. So basically, if you've had my course before, if you haven't, here's the precursor. It's a study about everyday life. We look at individuals around us, societies around us, and how they deal with these scarcity. And so here we go. Basically, what I was telling you before, economics is the study of how individuals make choices and how we allocate these scarce resources in order to decide our unlimited wants, but also how other individuals act with each other. So today, I had the choice. Either I was going to go to school or I needed to stay home. But I had scarcity of time, so I had to make the choice. And economists study how people react, their behaviors. I would have been a vile mom if I didn't stay home with my kid, right? And so basically economists look at different behaviors and how we deal with scarcity and how that talks about our values. So again, there's that word scarcity. Scarcity is that inescapable fact that we only have 24 hours in a day, right? We have limited resources. And so no matter how wealthy a society is, there's only so much amount of work, energy, and knowledge and capital. Capital is basically anything that is a business, that is used in a business to be able to carry out its job. So like if you're in Miss Huskinson's room right now, her chalkboard, her computer, the desk, the books, that's all capital for her to be able to produce a productive education for y'all. We're going to see that we have needs, right? That's food, shelter, clothing. But on the other hand, we also have these insatiable desires for our wants. And so it's us balancing those our unlimited wants and needs, and how we deal with scarcity and what we do with it. So that's the resources of our economics. We also see that there's trade-offs. Trade-offs is like, if you were to make a list of what you could do with your time, many of y'all would say your number one choice if you had to come to school or go to sleep was Sleep. And every time we make a choice, there's trade-offs. There's other things we have to give up. And so you can make a whole list. Like this morning, you probably were like, man, I wish I could sleep. Or you probably wish you could have had a breakfast. Or you wish you would have had more time for your homework. Or you wish you would have had more time for Netflix. Those are the trade-offs because of scarcity. Opportunity cost is really what you give up. So, for example, this morning when I decided to stay home with my daughter, my opportunity cost was being at school with my students. And so the opportunity cost is the decision that is the best decision that you had to give up on. Okay? So opportunity cost is your second choice of what you could have done, but you chose A, what you did, your choice. And so, most economists assume that there's a rational reason why we do these choices. And so, of course, my rational reason why I did this choice was because my daughter was sick and I needed to stay home because I wanted to be a good mom, and I sacrificed being a good teacher. So we see that there is going to be gains for trade, and we will look at an economic model for this, which will be comparative and absolute advantage, because we realize that if we trade with each other, our countries can be super productive. So what we're going to start to look at is an economic model that will explain opportunity costs and our decisions. And this economic model, eventually we'll see down the road, is called a production possibilities frontier. But before I get to that, I have to talk about positive and normative economics. Positive economics basically describes the phenomena and makes predictions about what's going to happen in the future. Okay, they tell us what we might accept for consumption. So like if I look at trends, like I know people are going to consume during Black Friday. They want to go out and get those deals. So that's positive economics. It tells us what we might expect. Okay, so like this whole fear that we're going to have a war with Iran. Many people are freaking out that gasoline prices are going to go up because we saw this in the 1970s. Okay, so this is what we could predict behavior. However, normative economics, we're going to look right here, is an analysis to guide a decision about what should be opposed to what is in the case. So this is like, it makes predictions, but it has judgments with them. And so we're going to see that it'll do cost comparisons. It just goes a little bit more into depth. And we'll see that normative economics, like really the debate about minimum wage, like one of the things is that if we raise minimum wage from $7.25 to like $15, like what Bernie Sanders is saying, well, what's going to happen to prices? Prices are going to go up. So you as a consumer are going to pay way more for that person with minimum wage. And so the normative economics really looks at the whole argument behind it. So we're going to see economists, which will eventually look at this in a production possibilities frontier, really strive that we have efficiency. And we're going to see that on a PPF. And we're going to see an Italian economist, I can't even say, Vilfredo Partero, was to force make this concept that we need to be efficient and we need to improve that efficiency. So like if I think about Henry Ford improved the efficiency of creating the automobile by making a moving assembly line. The assembly line was already there, but he just put it on a conveyor belt. And by doing that, he was able to produce way more Model Ts and thus bring down the price of that, and that benefit the consumer. And this is what Partero is saying, that if we increase the efficiency, that citizens will be better off. Everybody gets to benefit. Okay, so that was just basically that. And here's the whole micro versus macro. Micro is looking at individual businesses, which I wish the school would let me teach that, because it'd be so cool for many of you who want to go in businesses, because you look at like business decisions, what is the opportunity cost. However, macro really looks at the whole economy. It looks at how everybody behaves. How does the government interact? How does policies come in? And so that's just the difference between micro and macro. And here's just a little section summary of what is section 1. And so I'm going to pause here and then I'm going to start on section 2, micro.